Hello everyone. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at our China versus Vietnam scenario. We're going to be giving it a try, putting kind of the last little touches on the opposition. But before I even get started with that, I happen to notice that my reference points that I have down here were not locked. That's a bit of a critical mistake on my points. I'm actually going to lock these so that the player can't move the victory zone. That would be kind of an ironic way to win the mission. It's like, oh, look at that. I won right at the beginning because I moved where I needed to be. The second thing I could do too, and I was thinking a little bit about this, and again, I don't do these videos back to back. I just do them weekend after weekend kind of a thing. So I'll think about it during the week when I design these things. Is I could have actually built the amphibious landing itself here, but anybody who's done any cargo operations in command, notice how difficult that would be to do on a teeny tiny island like this. That being said, it'd be a pretty fun project to do. All right, let's go ahead and pick up where we left off. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and save as usual. I'm going to go ahead and pop up the editor, go grab the Vietnamese side real quick. And if you recall last time, I added a bunch of these little civilian vessels that we're going to go ahead and put to good use here. There's quite a few of these. And remember, each time that this level is generated, it moves these civilian vessels around. One thing that I did do last time is I disabled the civilians vessels radar in order to make things way more exciting for any player. But when I was thinking about it, it occurred to me that this Vietnamese player, if there are civilian vessels, will attempt to identify those civilian vessels, which is okay, except for the fact that that's going to encourage them to do kind of dangerous things as it beelines for a bunch of things that aren't really that important. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go up to my editor here. I'm going to go to Vietnam, and I'm going to make sure it can automatically track civilians. I'm going to make sure the Chinese cannot automatically track civilians. Now, the great advantage to this now is the Vietnamese knows who to look for and knows who is not to look for, which actually means if you want to be extremely cruel and unusual, and I mean extremely cruel and unusual, we could actually say free fire against surface contacts. Now, watch this. Let me go ahead and unpause real quick. I just want to demonstrate what's going to happen. Notice all the civilian vessels are instantaneously identified, but any non-identified vessels must automatically be Chinese vessels and therefore can be engaged. I know you're sitting there going, that's not how that works in the real world. Please don't do that. But we're going to do it anyway. And the reason we're going to do it anyway is it's going to make the scenario a little bit more challenging for us. Again, at this point, Vietnam is protecting its territorial integrity. They're going to do a lot in order to protect things. So I'm just going to make that quick little doctrine change. This is probably going to bite us during testing, but we can always go back and check it. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm going to press save real fast, and now I'm looking good. Next thing I want to do is I want to split up the Vietnamese forces. When I originally built this, if you probably remember like a month ago or so, we made it so the Vietnamese forces were in these nice little tight groups that kind of operated and protected the coast, which makes a lot of sense. Obviously, mutual support, mutual suppression, things along those lines. But because we've added all of this chaos, we can now hide amongst the chaos in order to actually be more effective. Remember, deception, if I can convince the enemy that I have 1,000,000 ships deployed, is much more effective than having 1,000,000 ships deployed, because it's going to waste, obviously, if I had 1,000,000 ships, I'd use them, but logistically, it'd be a nightmare. But the fact is, if the enemy thinks that, and we don't think that, that could make things really, really simple for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to break up my SAGs. I feel kind of bad about this. I believe these guys are minesweepers, so I'm not even going to bother with that SAG. Let's see, we have my 4th regional SAG here. This is actually a very, very good group of ships here. I'm actually going to delete the group there. Don't accidentally delete the units, just delete the group. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to order these guys on a nice good old-fashioned sea patrol. But I'm going to keep the sea patrol isolated to this region here, so that basically where the civilian vessels are going to irritate them, it's going to irritate them as well. Okie dokie then. Apparently we're going across the earth and back here, but interesting. I got to worry about that too much. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these units and basically just kind of mix them along everybody here. Again, what we want to do here is we want to go ahead and deselect them as well. I'm just going to kind of spread them all out. Again, we can do this using Lua if we want to get a little more sophisticated here. But sometimes it's just kind of fun to do it on my own. And the other thing, too, obviously, is if you do this via Lua, you're going to have a lot less control over where they go. Although, like I said, I'm not as concerned about that as I could be. So I'm going to go ahead and grab these ships. I'll pull one over here. Grab this one, stick this one over here, we'll grab this one over here, we'll put it right here. And again, remember the civilian vessels wiggle each time, so very, very clever players, yeah, you have the ability to go ahead and actually look and find each one of these vessels individually, and then probably mark them out and go back and, the trial and error method of kind of defeating these kinds of missions. But, it's still going to be a fairly effective strategy as far as kind of putting a cap on the player there. Let's go ahead and save what I've just done here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create myself a mission. And I'm going to use my existing kind of waypoints here to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and grab all of this like this. And that should get me a pretty good area. I'm actually going to shut off that so it's a little bit easier to see what I'm doing here. All right, here, let's see. I've got this one. I do not need this one. I do need that one. I need this one. I need that one. That's actually a pretty good place to stop. And it looks perfect. Let's go ahead and create a sea control. Sea control, patrol. That's just funny. All right, go to patrol. We'll do sea control. Very important that you shut the radar off. So I'm going to do that before I do anything. So we're going to disable that radar. As far as things to engage and stuff along these lines, let's just think this through real fast. Weapon release looks pretty good. Obviously, I'm not going to worry about that too much. We haven't added any units. Ignore apply to course. We definitely need that to be selected. We'll do optimistic. Why not? Engage opportunity targets. That's perfectly reasonable for this particular thing. If they see something, go for it. That makes things a lot more challenging for your opponent as well. Use SAMs in ASU mode. Absolutely, if you can. Maintain standoff. Shortest route sounds perfectly fine to me. Let's keep them pretty chaotic, so I'm just going to leave them pretty much anywhere. They don't need to avoid contact. That looks pretty good. Okay, so let's go ahead and add my vessels. Aren't I so glad that I named these things properly? All right, go ahead and check to make sure I didn't miss any that I don't not need. That doesn't make any sense, but too bad. Looks good. So now we have a huge collection of these little missile vessels, frigates, and destroyers that are just going to be kind of tooling around. However, we don't want to make the mistake of accidentally setting them up going too fast. What's going to happen here is if we let these guys kind of zip around at full speed, it's going to be tremendously obviously who they are. Civilian fishing vessels don't do 40 knots, but enemy ships certainly do. So we want to think this one carefully. If we set this to full, that's going to be moving pretty quick. If we leave it at creep, however, this is going to be a little bit safer for us. Again, if our civilian vessels were a little quicker, we could dial in a speed here and basically say, go exactly 10 knots or something like that. And set all the civilian vessels to 10 knots, and then the players would have a full-time job trying to figure out who is whom. So again, that's a pretty effective technique there. And obviously, attack throttle, I'll bring them up a little bit quicker so they can close the distance, because they're probably already doomed. This is probably a terrible mistake on our part, but we're going to find out what happens when we actually test it. Let's go and do one of these things. Go do one of these things. Okay, it does not like me at all. Let's see here. We need 1163. Then we need 1164. Then we need 1165. Then we need 1166. I'm just working my way down here. Then we need to scoot over to 1167, which is accurate. We need to go up to 1168, which is fine. 1175. Don't even know where that waypoint is. Oh, it accidentally grabbed these by accident. Haha, now it makes sense now. All right, let's delete that one. Let's delete that one. Let's go down here. Let's remove this one. And let's go down here and remove this one as well. Hey, now we're in business. So now we have the Sea Control Patrol. It's just fun. And basically what they're going to do is they're going to tool around in here at nice and low speeds. And if for some reason a Chinese vessel gets a little too close, it's going to get a bit of a surprise of its life. Likewise, if any aircraft go passing over that look like a freebie, it will gladly engage them. As a matter of fact, if I want to be a little bit more cruel and unusual here, let's go ahead and take a look at the operations here. I'm actually going to order them to go ahead and basically, if something flies over your head that's not friendly, blow it out of the air, please. Obviously, whenever you make decisions like this, you run a really, really scary risk of shooting down civilian aircraft in the real world. But again, we're just going to pretend that we're making things difficult for everybody. Let's go ahead and save, and now we are looking good. So now these vessels are basically going to go nuts as far as once we get everything rolling again here. I'm actually going to go ahead and do one of these things, kind of encourage them to return back to which they came. Obviously, as soon as they get to their assigned location, they're going to automatically go ahead and start moving themselves normally and searching this entire region pretty aggressively. Like I said, it'll work. It'll work pretty smoothly, as you'll say. All right, let's grab this guy. Oh, he's apparently not going anywhere. Lucky guy, lucky guy. Let's grab these guys. These guys are all going chaotically nuts here. Get them back to the safety zone. Obviously, like I said, if I try to move them too fast, any smart player will just take that time to go ahead and identify where they are and who they are. And within seconds, my whole fight is pretty much done. All right, let's go ahead and hit save there. And now this scenario just got a lot more challenging because what's going to happen is these folks are basically going to be coming out of the place. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our submarine deployment here. So let's go ahead and turn on everybody real fast. So we know that the Chinese forces are chilling a little bit too dangerously close to over on this side of things, which is where the Philippines are located. The downside to that, of course, is anybody along the coast can see you. Of course, the Philippines Air Force is probably going to be feeding some intelligence to the Vietnamese in order to make things incredibly interesting for us. Now, there's a couple different philosophies we can use as far as designers goes for this. The first thing we can do is we can make the Philippines Air Force auto-identify them and then pass that information on to these. We could do the old-fashioned thing where we got a Snoopy. We could get ourselves a civilian ship that is basically goes by the front of the Chinese Navy. The fun advantage to that is now the Chinese Navy know they're being hunted before the scenario even starts. That makes things a lot more fun. And likewise, we can try to do things the hard way, where we basically design some kind of patrol where the Vietnamese could accidentally bumble into these guys and make things kind of interesting for us. But I'm kind of a fan of the Snoopy, I'm not going to lie. You know, the freak chance that you accidentally bumped into basically some kind of a cargo vessel that's going to go feed you some intelligence there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go add edit sides real quick. I'm going to go posture, and I'm going to treat the Vietnamese as if they were friendly. And I'm going to take for the Vietnamese, obviously, these guys are neutral, so it's perfectly fine. But I'm actually going to treat them, not China. We're going to treat these folks as friendly. Now, that sounds a little weird, but what that means now is, let me go flip over to, actually, we can't see it from the Chinese side. Yes, we can. These are all neutral vessels, right? But anything the neutral vessels can see now can be passed on to Vietnam. Now, you're immediately saying, well, wait a minute. If you do that, then you have to turn on visibility for these guys. And the answer is, yeah, we kind of got to. So I'm going to go to neutral real quick, and I'm going to go and take their awareness back to normal mode. And the advantage to this now is they can actually actively pass intelligence on to the Vietnamese Air Force, as well as, armed forces and all that other stuff. Now, what we could do here, too, is we could take one Vietnamese ship and put it over here and basically act as, a kind of a lemming sort of a thing as it gets absolutely plastered. We can also create another side. But this seems to be a pretty simple solution for it so far. So I'm actually going to go ahead and save this, too. Again, we can always put it back the way it was, and now if it didn't work the way we want. Okay, let's go ahead and get a civilian vessel. What's a vessel? A civilian vessel was accidentally bumps into the Chinese Navy here. Again, these things are always so much fun to do. Let's see. It'd probably be a container vessel. Let's see here. Probably Panamax, because he'll just be chilling. He'll be coming basically here. He'll be doing basically his flank speeder. And let's see. I need to get close enough. Let's see what my total distance here. Obviously, it's pretty early in the morning, so let's see what we got here. 15 nautical miles away. How many miles away are you from the carrier group? That's 40 nautical miles away. All right, so we'll call this the, let's see here, Merchant Vessel Snoopy. Why not? We'll call it Merchant Vessel Snoopy. I'm going to go ahead and flip on his active radar, so he's going to go ahead and start looking around, and we're just going to assume that he was on his way to Haiphong, and he just happens to notice a huge Chinese action group basically making their way. Of course, if this were the real world too, you have things called satellites, which makes this way more exciting. But I'm going to go ahead and save the scenario, and I just want to confirm that my MV Snoopy actually has the ability to pass that information on to the Vietnamese. So I'm going to go switch to, unfortunately, my MV Snoopy was in the Vietnamese already. So we're going to have to rebuild my MV Snoopy. I hate it when I do that. And we're going to set this to, we don't want Vietnam. Surface vessel. We're going to set it to neutral. This is going to be a Panamax. And we're also going to call it, like I said, the MV Snoopy, because it's hilarious. I really wish they put Control A. MV Snoopy. That's going to be hilarious. What do you mean you got defeated by the MV Snoopy? Oh, we don't know. All right, let's go ahead and grab this vessel real quick. And let's go ahead and flip on its radar. We definitely want that to be active. Interesting. I'm pretty confident I set this to the correct side this time. Neutral. All right, I'm going to create it one more time, and this time definitely. MV Snoopy. Maybe we'll make it a new Panamax, just in case. Hey, now we're in business. We're going to say he's making full speed. He's got his active radar going full blast here. And I'm going to send him up into Haiphong. What a bizarre coincidence that that vessel happened to spot the entire Chinese Navy. That makes things so much more exciting, as you'll see. All right, let's just to make sure everything works okay. I'm going to go up and say it one more time. Go ahead and flip the things on. He's cavitating because he's basically picking up some speed here. And his radar has detected, actually he's not detected anything yet. Does this boy not have a radar? No, he's got him operational. For some reason, I've shut off sensor distance. No, selected units on. And I believe they are programmed to be able to see things now, which they are. Go ahead and speed things up a little bit here. He's got his radar pinging away, but apparently it is not showing. I wonder if something changed with surface sensors. Interesting. Okie dokie then. Let's go ahead and give him another radar here. We'll get a Ferno. Just generic Ferno is going to be fine. Detection, tracking, it's selected. It's always a possibility. Hey, there we go. The Ferno did the trick. So for some reason, that particular sensor is just not terribly good at picking up anything up. So let's go ahead and reopen the scenario real fast. We'll go ahead and enter the scenario. For some reason, it's looking at the ocean here. Let's grab neutral one more time. Let's grab my MV Snoopy. I'm going to go ahead and add its little Ferno, which is going to freak out the Eland people anyway. It's kind of funny if you think about it. All right, let's go ahead and add those two items on it. Looks good. We're going to do generic. We're going to make sure that thing is operational. It's fully operational. Off, on. Now we're in business. Okay, let's go ahead and save this real quick. And now what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to go ahead and automatically detect all of these Chinese vessels pretty much right away, thanks to this, fairly large vessel. And that means I can now create a mission with the Vietnamese that will automatically attack them as well, which makes things kind of fun for us. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. I've got let's go back to Vietnam real fast. Actually, I was neutral. Let's go back to Vietnam. And now we know we have these subs basically in this kind of hovering position. But now that we know where the enemy target is going to be, let's go ahead and make this a little bit more gamey. But gamey's okay. Gamey's okay. Makes it fun, right? So we'll go back to China. Looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and see the orientation. I think I need to actually move those guys slightly to the right. Vietnam, obviously we got 1 for the carrier, 2 for the amphibious, because remember, the amphibious unit is really the only target here. The carrier is nice if you can get it, but at the end of the day, if you can get the amphibious group and get all those troops to drown, I know that sounds way worse than it really is. Actually, it is pretty terrible, what am I saying? The mission's basically automatically a failure for China's part, so that's going to make things kind of interesting for us. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and switch back to Vietnam. And we're going to do one of my favorite tricks here as far as trying to get around some problems that you're going to have with these kind of things. So I'm actually going to go ahead and, this is going to seem a little cheap, but it's actually a pretty valid strategy. So I'm going to go ahead and, again, this is getting a little hacky, but it works pretty well. I'm going to go to scenario time, and I'm going to set it to 2 minutes ago. So let's see, cancel. Let's go ahead and make sure I do this correctly. So let's say here, I'm going to say 28. I'm going to go ahead and copy that time. So now it is 7:28 in the morning, 2 minutes before the scenario actually starts. See what I'm doing there? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and back over to neutral. I'm going to go ahead and get myself an aircraft that is more than capable of detecting targets that are down on the ground. So let's get something really unscientific. This looks pretty good. You're sitting there going, oh, I see what you're doing here. So let's go ahead and get us a wet eye, which is just a classic little sensor here. You'll see what I'm doing. Wet eye. Here we go. Yeah, I'll take the 95 model. Why not? Go ahead and flip this thing on for a moment. Watch the. Let's check my distances. Looks good. Unpause. Pause. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and this is so cheap. I'm sorry. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here and reset my time to the actual scenario start time. Go ahead and press save. So now it's 7:30, and the Vietnamese are aware of the locations of all of these vessels. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tell my kilos to go ahead and do what the kilos do best, which is, surprise, now you have a destroyer. Or actually, you have a torpedo. So it looks like we have a couple skunk vessels here, which are clearly our escorts. It's incredibly obvious if you look at this mechanically exactly where the important target is. Here. Now, it's obviously here. Even when you look at this carrier group here, it's pretty obvious this is going to be the important one here. Okay, let's go ahead and save everything real fast, just in case. And let's go ahead and build our kill the amphibious group mission here. So I'll do a control F1. I'll say sink it, sink it, sink it good. All right, that looks pretty good to me. We'll do a naval anti-surface warfare strike. We're going to grab this little chunk of vessels. We're going to add them. Well, they can shoot at anything, but the problem is that they go after the escorts here. It's not really going to do anything here. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using vessels like this. We're going to be using... Oh, I did it again. Oh, I hate it when I do that. Switch back over to Vietnam this time. Sorry about that. There we go. Now we can do it sink it good. So let's grab this group real quick. We'll call it sink it good. We'll do back to strike. We'll do a naval anti-surface warfare strike. And now we have our actual units that are critical here. All right, so let's go ahead and grab our handy-dandy submarines here. We have quite a few of these at our disposal. If I can find them, I believe I've already assigned them to a mission, because I already sent them to a mission. Yeah, because I have them basically tooling around down here. I've got the other 2 subs. I'm going to leave them down here. But these groups of subs can actually be added right to this mission. So I'm going to go ahead and right-click on you guys. I'm going to go ahead and assign you to missions. Sink it good. Interesting. All right, we'll take a look at that in a minute. Let's see, sink it good. That's fine. And we'll go over to here, and we'll also say sink it good. Assign to mission, sink it good. Nice. All right, let's go take a look at our mission one more time. Make sure it makes a little bit of sense here. Okay, 1/3. Obviously, this is a strike. We don't need any of this. We don't need to... Oh, you absolutely need all of that. But we're going to go back to sink it good. These are basically going to be my strike vessels. Obviously, if we can get one of those sunk, we win the scenario. So it's almost worth it to beeline. Let's take a look at our doctrine here. Let's say avoid contact. No, they have to actually have contact. But if they get something that's close enough to them to actually detect them, we'll have them dive as well. Recharge. Let's see here. Offensive, defensive, went 10%. We want to keep this battery really low, so we don't want them surfacing too early. If they have this, we definitely want them to use it. Shortest route navigation looks good. This is a really fun thing to do. A bunch of players forget that the kinematic range is way more than effective against fast-moving vessels. So pretty please use this setting whenever you do it. It works great. Automatic evasion. Okay, looks good. That looks good. That looks good. We want to say optimistic because obviously we're working with torpedoes here. If you need to attack on your own, go ahead and ignore plotted course. That's fine with me. And do not go after opportunity targets. All right, let's go ahead and save this again. So now we already know where the Chinese fleet is, and we have a pretty angry group of submarines that are basically going to come swiggity swooping down on that guy and surprising him. Meanwhile, of course, we have a couple submarines down here that are more than willing to do their thing. And of course, we also have these anti-ship missiles, which, trust me, will have no problem in the universe to go ahead and work over anybody that they can detect. So what I'm actually going to do, oh, yep, this looks good. All right, now we're starting to get somewhere. Okay. Now is the moment of truth. We're going to go ahead and give this thing a quick try real fast to kind of see what happens. So let's go over to China. I'm going to save it one more time. All right, we've already detected something. We don't know what it is. Our amphibious action group, we're going to have to make the best time we can. But, I played these games long enough to know some kind of secrets. I'm actually going to pull this one a little bit out. And I'm going to aim right for the corner. Because, again, you just need to get one of these vessels in to win. But unfortunately, like I said a couple videos ago, we're going to have to bring these guys up to full speed in order to safely get into range. My carrier group on the flip side can move at a much more leisurely cruise. But we need to immediately start thinking about, okay, what are we going to do as far as protecting our assets here? So when I'm thinking of China, I always come back up here. I've got a bunch of MiGs here. Again, great aircraft for this purpose. I've got a bunch of tankers, which is going to keep my guys in the air. We got to get those guys going pretty much right away. Swinging down here, let's see here. I've got a bunch of Cubs, sonar buoys, awesome. I got to get those airborne immediately. And I also have plenty of air escorts that I can be using for all sorts of good stuff. Okay, so step one is obviously we're going to have to set up some kind of sanitization zone so we can swiggity swoop. I got to stop saying that, I'm sorry. Basically zip through as fast and efficiently as we possibly can. So I'm going to go ahead and now create myself my little area here. And I'm going to go ahead and say this is going to be the patrol area, so to speak. We're going to go ahead and F1, sanitize. We're actually going to have to change the size of this area as our mission goes here. Obviously, it's going to be sea control. I'm just going to press OK. And I'm going to launch everybody. The only reason I'm launching everybody here is the biggest threat we're going to be facing this entire scenario are going to be submarines. So we've got to stick it to them. Hopefully, everybody gets into place early enough to actually be able to be effective. I'm actually going to shut this off. I'm going to send everybody, like I said, absolutely everybody into this. So let's get all the Cubs. Let's see here. We have some Badgers. Those are tankers. We can't do those. All of the Freelons are going to get into it. Let's see here. The Super, all those helicopters are going to get into it. Let's see here. I'm going to send all of these. I know this seems like it's a little excessive, but it's the only way in the universe we're going to be able to safely do this. Another strategy I do a lot is I'll break off a destroyer or two to kind of just concentrate on this process, but this will be fine as it is. Okay, I've got plenty of these ships going. All right, so that's good. So they're going to go ahead and clean that area out. If there's any enemy subs, I'm sure I'm not going to find them. They're going to blow me up. You know how these games are played. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to get a moving cap going. Again, this is just basic strategy. We're just testing the theory out. We're going to probably make it a pretty good-sized cap. Anti-ship missiles are very lethal. So unfortunately for us, we need to make this cap fairly large, which unfortunately gets a little close to Vietnam, which could make things a little bit complicated for us. I'm going to center them completely around my amphibious group because they're the expensive ones. So let's go ahead and call this cap. Again, we're keeping things pretty straightforward so far. AAW looks good to me. Let's see who we have at our disposal here. So we have the flankers, which are up north. I'm going to use the flankers to kind of secure this region. Let's see, we have more flankers. We have some finbacks. We have, let's see, where's my flying sharks? That's the ones I want. Okay, so those guys are going to be responsible for that. I've also got, what do we guys loaded up here? PL-12s. Oh, delightful. I'll go ahead and order you guys up. We're going to keep these groups in fairly large little patrols here. I'm actually going to be doing groups of 3 today. Going up to 4 makes sense, but I need some coverage in this area, so I need to go ahead and do that. Next thing I do is I'm going to go set up my support missions, which are always really critical. I'm going to set up a refueling track. And the purpose of this is just to provide us exactly what you think of refueling track. Let's go ahead and do a support mission. I'm going to press OK. Of course, it's invalid. Oh, because I forgot those are the 2 waypoints. My bad. 2611, you are voted off the island. And let's see here, 2610. You're also voted off the island, leaving these two. Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and grab all of the badgers. I want at least 2 on at all times. That looks good. That looks good. That looks good. We do not need them to turn on their little silly navigation radars. If they do that, they're just going to get detected, and it's going to look nasty. Those folks will go ahead and provide any refueling support that we need. All right, looking good so far. We're going to save as China versus Vietnam test run. Haha. Okay, so that's all set. Of course, when I do this as well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to establish my refueling track to follow my ships. Again, this is just a simple little technique here. Fix the bearing. I'm going to have it actually follow my carrier group here. And now everything's looking pretty darn good if you ask me. These two do not need to be fixed. I'm actually going to defix them if that makes any sense. What do we want to say? Remove relativity. Thank you. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to build up sort of a don't let the Vietnamese Air Force get through this gigantic bar here. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to set up a classic barrier cap. I'm basically going to use these 2 points as my barrier, and then I'm going to go ahead and create an engagement zone within it. So I'm going to go ahead and call this bar cap. Bar cap. No, bar cap. So we're going to say patrol. We're going to say AAW. We're going to go ahead and get all these lovely aircraft, except for the ones with the anti-radiation missiles. I got another plan for those. And we're going to grab all of these aircraft, and we're going to go shove them all into this mission. I think that's about all the expensive stuff I have left here. There we go. So we have 12 of those, 4 of those. We have plenty of these. What am I doing? Join the fun. Let's see here. So these guys are all PL8s. These guys are all bombs. Can't use them. And those are all PL8s as well. Those are all PL7s. I feel like I goofed this up already. Let's see here. Yep, I did. Told you I did. Boop. Okay, now we're in business. For some reason that happened. Cool. So those folks will all take care of my bar cap stuff. So I'm going to have them move on a continuous repeatable loop, and I'm just going to create a prosecution zone that they can operate within for the purposes of engaging anything that kind of comes by. So outside the patrol area is fine as long as you establish a prosecution zone. And I'm also going to keep these guys in pretty big groups. The Vietnamese have very capable aircraft, and we definitely don't want to be exposing ourselves to anything that could be potentially lethal. So let's go ahead and use, I'm just trying to work this out. So this is going to be my bottom port, and this is going to be 1. Okay, so I'm deselect. We'll go ahead and grab, this is going to be one of my points, obviously very close to base. This is going to be my next point. And again, I'm just creating like a little prosecution zone kind of thing. I really need one more point kind of right here, just for the purposes of giving myself a little bit more coverage. And then I need another point right here. Okay, cool. So as soon as I create this area, it's going to blow up on me. Whoa, it worked. That never happens. Try validating area. I had a feeling it wasn't going to like that. Okay, let's see here. So our first point has to be, let's see, 2614. Oh, that's going to be a problem because that point is going to move on. Oh, no. Yep, it's okay if that point moves. Nothing bad will happen. Okay, so 2626 should be the first point. Okay, that's fine. So my next point should be 2614. That's fine. Next point should be 2624. 2614 goes to 2624, goes to 2623. Getting better, getting better. And then this point here was supposed to come after 2623. Better. Hey, we did it. Okay, so my prosecution zones where they'll engage enemy aircraft. My barrier here is where they're going to operate back and forth in order to go ahead and kind of keep this area as covered as possible. In a real situation, you want to stagger the launches on these aircraft as much as possible to spread them out along my barrier cap here. Again, this is to keep the Vietnamese Air Force away from us. With whatever that is. Okay, cool. So that's looking good. Refueling looks good. Cap looks good. Sanitize looks good. Everything else in that regard is looking pretty good. We'll go ahead and save this one again. Test run. We're going to go ahead and press yes. I'm watching my clock carefully here. We're only going to get a few moments to kind of give this a spin, and we can abuse it a little bit more next time. Okay, so now, of course, we also have a bunch of aircraft with anti-radiation missiles, and we might as well put those to use because, why not? So let's go ahead and think about this for a second here. So anti-radiation missiles, they're best going to be used anywhere there's a radar. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. So I'm going to go ahead and deselect my 10,000 reference points here. And let's see if I can go ahead and get use just my existing reference points to go ahead and create a seed. Grab this one, grab this one, grab this one, and I can grab this one. Unfortunately, that is one of those nasty fixed ones. That's going to kind of mess us up a little bit here. I'm not a fan of that, but you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. Seed and deed. I know that spells dead deal. All right, we're going to set this to a seed patrol. And we're going to go ahead and get all those nice anti-radiation missile aircraft that I was discussing earlier. I'm going to put them in a couple groups here. I'm not going to do any of this stuff. And I'm going to let them just kind of explore the zone. And any radar signal that goes off is about to get hit in the face with a big nasty bomb. And now we are ready for the moment of truth. Let's go ahead and save this one more time. Again, this is just our test run. This isn't our actual scenario. Begin. Okay, so first things first, we got everything good. We've already picked up our hostile radar, but again, and we also picked up the stupid little Snoopy. I wonder who this is. Stupid commercial container vessel discovered our entire naval fleet here. That's all right, though. That happens all the time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fast forward a teeny tiny bit here. We need to get a lot of aerial assets, airborne as fast as we can. In about half a second, there's going to be an amazing amount of lag. There it is. As everybody goes ahead and launches at the same time. All right, our anti-submarine warfare aircraft. The great thing about these is they have these little anti-periscope radars. And the reason I like those so much is because what will happen is anybody who gets detected by it will immediately dive, which is usually a bad thing if you're trying to kill the... Whoa! That was quick. That's not fair. Well, it looks like we're about to lose our first ship. All right, here we go. Let the fireworks begin. And that's how you start a scenario. That gets, oh, no, 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 we're going to lose the scenario. Yeah, we're going to lose the scenario. Oh, his Sea Whiz got it. Oh, that was way scarier than it should have been. Okay, so problem number one, detecting the enemy vessel early has resulted in this ridiculously tight engagement there. And again, that was kind of fun. I got to admit, I like that. That is the downside of not having an AWACS. And unfortunately, because we don't have that limitation, it's going to make things interesting for us. All right, let's see how things are going up here. We're picking up a bajillion ships here, but unfortunately, none of those ships that we're detecting we're going to get too close to. But at the very least, if we do bump into something that doesn't quite look right, we can, of course, sit here and analyze it. Again, if we were smart players, we go, why is that ship doing 20 knots? As a matter of fact, I bet you, no, it's a civil vessel. Yeah, we would have been, I said vessel again. So we would have been hammered for that. We would have gotten creamed if we tried to engage that particular target. Fortunately, our little refueling units are kind of on their way. All right, just kind of looking around real quick here. Oh, we picked up something else. And again, diligent players will sit here and analyze every single thing they can in this entire scenario, constantly looking for something that does not make much sense. Remember, we actually have anti-radiation planes on their way right now, the flankers. And the great news here is once they do get into range, I'm actually just going to order them. Let's go ahead and pause for a second here. Engage, please. So what they're actually going to do is they're going to go ahead and engage them as soon as they get within range here. All right, we're picking up a couple enemy airplanes. I expected that, MiG-21s. But good news, I have something on its way to make those MiG-21s miserable. Again, the advantage, see, as the Chinese player, I'd see these aircraft and start freaking out, going, they're going to make a gun run on us. Oh, we picked up a huge contingent of Vietnamese aircraft here. All right, here we go. Now, the interesting thing is the Chinese are more than capable of engaging these aircraft using their anti-aircraft missiles, their SAMs. Oh, boy. I'm about to lose a bunch of airplanes. All right, so problem number one, other than that amazing anti-ship missile strike there, is the fact that, oh, yep, I'm already losing aircraft. Here we go. Oh, my. And now, you want to see some fun here. Let's go ahead and flip on the 3D view real quick. Oh, man, there's a lot of aircraft. What have I done? All right, let's go poke over here real fast. And you can see that the fireworks are looking a little extreme here. So these Sukhoi 27s are absolutely working over my Finbacks here, my J8s, which doesn't surprise me too much, but I was kind of hoping they'd be a little bit better, but we're going to have to rethink my anti-aircraft strategy completely. All right, let's see how things are going on this front. I think there's enough sonobuoys in the water right now that you can walk to the islands without getting your feet wet. And we have also detected a couple other interesting mobile targets down here. I'd be kind of interested about those. We'll have to take a look at those a little later on. All right, I don't want to go too late here. I'm having quite the aerial battle above the South China Sea here. Oh, boy. Everything else is doing fine here, though. I can see that they're sort of slowly working their way towards the enemy Kilo submarines. And, of course, the Kilo submarines are going to be making really good time. What do we got as far as speed here? We're still accelerating. Yikes. Hopefully we can make it to our target in time. Man, that was the most messy engagement I think the Vietnamese Air Force has been in since the Vietnam War. So that was unpleasant. All right, let's go ahead and flip to this mode real quickly here. See how everything's doing. Obviously, a lot of our ships are having to return to base because they ran out of fuel. That is lame. Okay, so that's a common problem here, is they don't seem to recognize my in-flight refueling here. So there's a lot of logistical challenges for good players here, and I actually really like that. And so I think that actually worked better than I expected. All right, I'm really hoping on one of these helicopters. Let me go borrow this helicopter for a second. Achoo! I'm just curious if we can even detect a Kilo-class submarine. Like, it's just one of those things. I'm out of sonobuoys. Well, this is going to be a much shorter scenario than I expected. Meanwhile, there's a second engagement going on here. So the Vietnamese Air Force is having a real good time of it. So I should almost put like an S-400 or something up here just to make things a little bit easier. Oh, here's the chase. You guys are doing, what, we got 480, and you're getting outrun by the flankers, which are doing 520. Not worth it. Don't chase. Don't chase. Not worth it. Meanwhile, there's a bunch more aircraft heading back, which would be freaking out most players. Oh, this is awesome. I like this scenario. This is coming out good so far. Nice little early challenges. We got a couple on MiG-21s. I think these are, what are these, my flankers? That's a Badger. Oh, God. That is not something that we want to get surprised by that. Let's see. We got the other Badger. We have this group right here. Oh, there they are. If you'd be so kind as to do something about that, please. Or did you guys already run out? They're refueling. This is such a challenging scenario. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and stop here. Otherwise, I will be going on for another 45 minutes. Next time, we'll go ahead and kind of pick up where we left off with this. There's a bunch of things I need to change already, but I will deal with that next time. Enjoy.